there is always an entourage of younger, good-looking women around Trump, all dressed the same, and all who basically look the same. During his criminal trial, the Stormy Daniels trial, he was obviously convicted on all 34 counts, but afterwards, I spoke to one of the jurors. He said all of these Trump women, girls, the ones who were testifying, Hope Hicks, Madeleine Westerhout, the ones who were sitting behind him, Natalie Harp, Alina Habba, he said they all look the same. They all dress the same and they all look the same. It really creeped everybody out. It's a role.
Michael.
Joanna.
I mean, again, where do we begin? I guess with the subpoena for the Clintons?
Why not? It always comes back with Donald Trump when he's in trouble, especially trouble about women, and fundamentally the Epstein story is about women. What does he do? He goes, Bill Clinton did it more. And that's obviously what happened. He has sent the word down to the House committee to call the Clintons, distract the Clintons, Epstein, the Clintons. He has been trying to make this connection, the Clintons to Epstein, really from the get-go. I mean, that was always one of Epstein's beliefs, that Trump wanted him to make that connection, that he was going to be the person that would be the guy to implicate Clinton to get Trump out of harm's way, Epstein's harm's way.
And who can forget the gimmick, or perhaps it was more sophisticated than a gimmick, of bringing the women who alleged that Bill Clinton had abused them to one of his debates with Hillary Clinton, which clearly threw Hillary Clinton off her stride, as it would throw anybody off their stride.
Yes, and that was a Bannon contribution.
That was Steve Bannon's idea?
Yes, and that may be the thing that he is singularly most proud of in his political life, or in his entire life. And let's realize how important this was. This came right after the grab them by the pussy moment, which was the moment that appeared by all logic and reason to doom the Trump campaign. I mean, even the Republican Party was basically saying, we're not going to support you. You got to get out of this race. I mean, we're not going to support you. And then Steve Bannon brought in these Clinton accusers, and that was the moment that it turned around.
Right, and then Melania did her, it's locker room talk, just locker room talk. And then a very enterprising T-shirt salesman, and I don't know if this was Kash Patel, because we know that one of the qualifying factors for Kash Patel being the head of the FBI is that he was hawking T-shirts, but someone did T-shirts that women could wear at Trump rallies saying, Trump, you can grab me by the pussy. Which I sort of wanted to wear as an ironic statement, but I was concerned that nobody would realize it was ironic.
Do you? Well, that's more important. Do you actually have that T-shirt?
I don't, but I remember seeing pictures of the T-shirts and thinking, what a clever T-shirt.
Okay, well, let's.
Should we recirculate it?
Somebody go on eBay right now.
Yeah. Okay, that's a very good idea. There must be some of them. I think they originated perhaps from the entrepreneur in Tom's River that makes a lot of Trumpabilia. Anyway, what is the significance of the dates they've called the Clintons? They've called Bill Clinton to appear before the Oversight Committee on December the 17th and Hillary to appear on the 18th.
Well, isn't that the day that the Epstein files, and let's begin to use air quotes here, are supposed to be delivered to Congress?
Ding, ding, ding. Top of the class, you get a gold star. Correct. So, as you're always saying, distraction, distraction, distraction.
So we can imagine that on that day, they will disgorge any connection in the files to the Clintons.
And everything else, I'm assuming, because...
Well, not everything. I mean, we are not going, again, and, as we've discussed, I think everybody has to be at attention about this. They're not going to do it. Donald Trump is not going to do it. He's going to use every possible loophole to not turn over these files or not turn over the files that in any way implicate him or anyone else he does not want implicated. And Congress has given him the wherewithal to do that.
So it seems a very tired trope to reach in his quiver and pull out the Clinton arrow. We know that Clinton has had a troubled history with women. It's not a surprise. People forgave him for it. They may not have forgiven Hillary for it, which is a different thing altogether and much more complex.
But she's not running for anything.
She's not running for anything, but why would they want to subpoena her? What on earth are they going to ask her?
This is just for the purposes of distraction and embarrassment. There is no other reason. There is no other even informational basis here. I mean, unless they want to, I suppose they will ask if Bill Clinton had ever had a relationship with any of the women in the who have accused Jeffrey Epstein, or whatever that question is going to be. And he has repeatedly answered this, that he has not. And I think that's probably reasonable. I think I would believe, and certainly supported by the things that Epstein said to me, that this was, Bill Clinton's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein was, if not solely, importantly, about the fact that Jeffrey Epstein had an airplane and was willing to ferry him around. And you can't underestimate how important that is to so many people who had a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. And in fact, it's sort of Jeffrey Epstein's business model. I will get the biggest airplane I can get, and then I will invite people on it, because nobody turns down an invitation to fly private.
But the strange thing is that the Clintons couldn't have put a private plane on the Clinton Global Initiative. I mean, you're an ex-president, you're flying to Africa, you're trying to do all sorts of charity work.
I'm sure Jeffrey Epstein's is certainly not the only private plane that they flew on, but they could not afford their own private plane.
But they could have rented one. Hello, NetJets. That's what other people do.
No. I don't think that is actually true. The planes are hugely expensive, and I'm sure at some point they did rent planes, but you couldn't rent them all the time. So you were always open to billionaires who could lend you their airplane.
And it's clearly a currency among billionaires and how they lock people in, and it's bait, right? It's bait for people. I will give you a ride on my plane.
I mean, so Bill Clinton, and understand, Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, but particularly Bill Clinton, couldn't fly private. Couldn't fly commercial. You can't fly commercial because you're besieged by people. You're entirely exposed. Yes, you could do it if you're willing to put up with this, but you're always looking for the wherewithal not to do that. And also you're flying all the time. So that becomes a fundamental thing in your life. Where's the private plane?
Okay, so let's continue on this theme of Trump and the women, a thing that's haunted him a little bit this week.
I just want to preface this because that is the Epstein and Trump story. That is the window there. What do people perceive about this Epstein story? They perceive that this is a window into seeing the true Trump character. And where is the true Trump character probably most vividly reflected? In his relationship with women and his obsession. So, and remember, he's in the women business. His beauty pageants, his modeling agencies. This is fundamental to his character.
And also, it's fundamental to the way he insults people who don't fall into his vision of what a woman should look like. So we have the story of Catherine Lucy this week, a reporter for Bloomberg, who asks him a question on the plane, and he retorts, "Quiet piggy."
No, and even his chief of staff, Susie Wiles, who is the one woman who actually makes Trump world run, and who is the one woman distinguished from all of the other women around him. But when he first met her in 2016, because she was running Florida for his then presidential campaign, and he said after meeting her, "She looks like a refrigerator, fire her." And she was not fired, and she flipped Florida. I mean, the pivotal event of Trump's political life, flipped Florida in 2016, flipped Florida again in 2020, and then ran the campaign in 2024.
So we've got him yelling, "Quiet piggy." We've also got what appears to be the imminent collapse of his case against James Comey, because Lindsay Halligan, who's got fabulous hair but less prolific law skills, has handled the case extremely badly and didn't even show the grand jury the final charges against James Comey.
Let's go back just to set the scene, because it's an extraordinarily peculiar scene. There is always an entourage of younger, good-looking women around Trump, all dressed the same, and all who basically look the same. A matter of fact, the press, the Daily Mail, is always getting it confused about which of these women is whom. When I was during his criminal trial in New York, the Stormy Daniels, speaking of another woman, the Stormy Daniels trial, he was obviously convicted on all 34 counts. But afterwards, I spoke to one of the jurors, and among the things that this juror singled out, he said, all of these Trump women, girls, the ones who were testifying, Hope Hicks, Madeleine Westerhout, the ones who were sitting behind him, Natalie Harp, Alina Habba, he said they all look the same. They all dress the same, and they all look the same. It really creeped everybody out.
Well, and they also look like a much younger version of Melania. I mean, Melania seems ageless, and as you wrote in your Substack column, she actually has an unknowableness about her that lends itself to now being her brand.
Ivanka slips in here too. It's all there's a lot of plastic surgery so that they can all look the same, but it is very much an attention. You're in this it's a role. When I first sat in, I think I've told this story before, when I was in the White House in 2017, sitting there every day, and I would see these women come by, all who were dressed the same, short pencil skirts. This was in the winter, high boots, and everybody's hair worn down.
Right.
And I texted my wife saying, God knows I could have missed some fashion trend, but I said, "Is this unusual?" Yes, she said, "This would be very unusual if they are all in this singular mode."
It slightly reminds me of the Robert Palmer video, Addicted to Love, where he has, you probably don't remember this, but he has like 12 women all dressed in black, hair scraped back, big red lips, playing guitars. It's an iconic video, and I urge everybody to watch it if they haven't. It's so good. But he's surrounded by these sort of political groupies. They all look the same. What is the signaling here that he is younger and more virile than he actually is, or virile, as you would say?
I think part of it is that they are available to me. That's what he wants people to think. And there's an interesting thing that happened in the release of these emails, because an email an email from me to Epstein showed up, and it was so in 2018. Epstein and Bannon were obsessed with the fact this was over the Christmas holidays, so I think it was leading into 2019. That Trump did not go to Mar-a-Lago. He stayed in the White House.
And so this was for the holidays, for Christmas.
Yes, and he told people he was staying there because he was, and I quote, banging his assistant. And so Epstein and Bannon, and Epstein was talking to Tom Barrack at the time, who was, a key Trump confidant.
And now an ambassador.
Yes, they were all in a flutter about this. And in this email to Epstein from me reveals the name of the person, which it shouldn't have been revealed. And in the book that I wrote, this was my second book about Trump's siege, I don't include the name of the person because it was never clear that he was banging the assistant. The only thing that was clear is that he was telling people he was banging the assistant. Even that term, banging someone, when was that last used?
Well, it's such a sort of weird, almost 1970s,
exactly.
Wall Street sort of braggadocious machismo that's just very unappealing.
Fraternity,
Right.
It's a word. All of this has long since passed out of the vernacular and the modern sensibility. But there he was saying this, and all of the people who were somewhat in touch with him aflutter about this, and no one, and even then, no one entirely convinced that this was true, but certain that he was. I mean, yes, because they had been directly told, "I'm banging the assistant," with enormous pride. I mean, that's in that in itself is an old fraternity thing of people wanting you to believe that they were having sex with someone when
well, with someone 40 years younger, and especially interesting if, as you say, there are people in the White House who assume that Trump is actually post-sex now, and especially because Melania doesn't appear to be around.
I mean, the man whose life has been obsessed with women, and I mean, a lot of women who I think we do understand he was banging, whether they were willing or not to be banged. And then he arrives at he gets older. I mean, he's old.
Trump 79 with cankles and bruises on his hands.
Yeah, I mean, I remember Bannon was, even the Stormy Daniels thing with Trump always saying he didn't have sex, absolutely denying this. And how could he have done that? And then Bannon would say, well, a failure to launch. So whatever, he is at an advanced age, but I think it remains enormously important to him to be seen as the guy the women are around. He's irresistible.
Well, and his own daughter has kept her distance, Ivanka, on the one hand claiming that politics is too cruel for her to be involved in, but clearly staying away. His wife appears to have moved out of the White House or never moved in again. So he's trying to signal and make up for the fact that in real life he doesn't appear to have any women close to him. I mean, perhaps the nearest woman to him is Susie Wiles, the refrigerator.
I think that's true. And again, this thing, during the he would refer to these women around him during the campaign as Charlie's Angels. Let's just pick out another reference from decades long past. In that whole thing, the Lindsay Halligan thing, my lawyers aren't I may not have the smartest, I may not have the best legal team, but I have the hottest.
Yes, I remember talking to someone who was working at the time of the E. Jean Carroll case and spending a lot of time in the courtroom. And Elena Harbour was trying to signal to the legal team that she really admired them and that she thought Trump was kind of monstrous and disgusting, and she was trying to have a cake and eat it, but was aware of the fact that he was a user of women.
Again, there is always that bifurcation in Trump people of them being absolutely abjectly worshipful and loyal to Trump, and then out of the corner of their mouths telling an entirely opposite story. But I think the thing is, and it's important to focus on, because this is the meaning of the Epstein relationship, is that his regard for and relationship with women is unacceptable in this moment in time. He is out of time. I mean, he is a throwback in a way that that I think if people understood the full contours of it and the full force of his misogyny, well, I was going to say that they would have a different opinion, but I think people do understand it. That's the confusing thing.
Well, and people appear to have forgiven Bill Clinton, too, for what appear to be similar proclivities. I mean, the difference with Bill Clinton is that he has a very different kind of wife, and he has the same wife. So Trump obviously went through Ivana, then he went through Marla Maples, and now he's with or without Melania Trump.
Well, I would disagree. I'm not sure people forgave Bill Clinton in 1998 and 1999. But I don't think, I think Bill Clinton has come under a fairly profound reevaluation. And now he's not running for anything. He's out of public life. There is no issue here. But I don't think that Bill Clinton could be elected president in 2025.
Really? I mean, I think Bill Clinton is still very much pulling in large speaker fees on the circuit, and I think people like hearing him speak.
I bet those fees are considerably down from the 500,000 to near $1 million that he was once getting. I'll bet we don't break six figures anymore.
I'm going to find that out. I'm going to call his speakers bureau and ask if that's true. Certainly his speakers' fees will be a lot higher than Larry Summers.
I guess they always have been.
Right, but I wonder if Larry Summers can even get a speaking gig anymore. He was Clinton's Treasury Secretary. I don't think anybody's paying to hear him speak right now. Let me put it this way. I called a friend last week and asked what he was up to, and he said, I'm just debooking Larry Summers from a speaking gig. Well, do the Clintons have the right or the ability to change the scheduling and say, well, this is all very well, but we have plans?
Yeah, I would suspect that they'll move to quash the subpoenas, and they'll do whatever procedural things that they can do, and they. I don't know the procedures here, but I suspect they will certainly try not to appear before Congress.
So, Michael, as you've always been claiming, Epstein is the story that won't go away. We've now got a unanimous vote for the release of the files. We've got Marjorie Taylor Greene out there illuminating the cracks in MAGA. This does seem to reinforce Trump's lame duckery.
To be a lame duck in your second term is inevitable. I think it's going to be unusual to see Donald Trump in that mode, because to be a lame duck means that means you're losing power. The thing Donald Trump has become Donald Trump because he grabs power. He grabs power in an audacious way, and so audacious that people give it to him. And that's how he has been able to sustain being Donald Trump, this unstoppable force, this inevitable force. But now when the other inevitable thing starts to happen, and it is inevitable, you start to lose power because people realize that the end is coming and they have to position themselves to take power. And in order to take power, they have to diminish your own power. And this is, of course, people in your own party. It's not just the Democrats saying whatever the Democrats say. It is the people you depend on, the people whose loyalty you have famously commanded, more loyalty than anyone else has ever commanded. And that's what makes you who you are. And now, at this point, when you start to lose it and people start to challenge you, what do you do? Who do you become? So I think we're going to see, and clearly this Epstein stuff, the thing that he did not want to happen, and which he indicated in every way, stubbornly. He just dug himself in on this, and it happened. Released the Epstein files. Despite anything that he said, despite any arms that he twisted, any of the threats he would surely have been making, they did it anyway. And he was forced to go along. Oh, yeah, okay, me too, yeah.
Well, it's interesting. You used the word audacity, which is an underrated characteristic for a politician. Clearly he has it. You think of Barack Obama, who had it and launched his campaign against the advice of everybody in the party who kept saying it's Hillary's turn, it's Hillary's turn. The thing
Wasn't that the title of his book?
The Audacity of Hope. Yeah, yes, it was. But one thinks about the crew around Trump, all conscious of his lame duckery and the fact that he's losing power, and the Epstein files may be the beginning of the end or a nail in the coffin, however you want to describe it, and them then having to position themselves for it. And that must be a fascinating moment. And I do think that your old friend, RFK Jr., is clearly positioning himself for what would be a historic election, were a Kennedy to come back into the White House.
Well, I can tell you with an enormous amount of certainty that this Kennedy is not going to come back into the White House. But I do believe you're right, that is the fantasy he is currently operating under, that he has a chance to be this, and let's remember he's 72 years old. But
well, he seems like a spring chicken compared to the current president and the former president.
That he is going to be the MAGA candidate, and I think that there's a whole set of people who are imagining themselves to be the MAGA person, the MAGA person independent of Trump. Now, this is all, of course, technically or on a political basis. How do you separate yourself from the heir apparent, who is J.D. Vance? And you go more rightward than J.D. Vance can go. You embrace positions that are antithetical to Trump's. Epstein would be, of course, one of those positions.
And you lean into their conspiracy theories about vaccines, which he's doing increasingly.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, he is. I mean, he is off his rocker, and has, as I said, I've known Bobby Kennedy since 1979, I believe, and he was off his rocker then, and he is off his rocker now.
We got lots of appreciative comments when I asked you what you thought Robert Kennedy was doing when he left the room, when he and Dr. Oz had been talking about reducing the price of GLP-1s, and the poor man with them collapsed and was led to the back of the Oval Office, his legs in the air. RFK, the Secretary for Health and Human Services, ran out of the room. And when I asked you what you thought he was doing, you said, I don't know, probably shooting up. It got a lot of, it got a huge number of responses of people just laughing and saying, thank God,
We should go back to
the
circle back to the women thing here, because RFK Jr. has had a long history of women's issues, and most recently there is of course a memoir by a journalist who became intensely involved with RFK
Oh, you're talking
Jr.
about Olivia Nuzzi, the former political correspondent of New York Magazine, who's written a book about their digital relationship, and it's called American Canto. Have you read it? Have you seen it at all?
I have not.
I did read her ex-fiance's installment plan.
As we all.
Yes. Right. I know. For that, I'm not sure this story is relevant beyond the media, except perhaps for insight into RFK would-be presidential candidate.
Yeah. No. And also there's this memoir which will now duel with the memoir of Cheryl Hines, RFK Jr.'s wife, which has come out or is about to come out.
Oh, I missed that. I didn't realize Cheryl Hines had it. So we can have dueling narratives of a digital version of RFK Jr. and the real life version. I'm still stuck on Cheryl Hines's ad where she has RFK Jr. in the shower.
I have not seen this.
I will text you that.
This is an ad for what?
It's an ad for Cheryl Hines's bath and body lotions, and it features,
of
course, and it's, I can't remember what they're called, but it features her husband in the shower, but you never see his, as Sylvia Plath would say, turkey giblets, because Cheryl's head is always in the way.
But let's come back to this lame duck thing and what does Trump do? I mean, we know what other presidents have done, which is pretty much nothing, because they understand at some level that this is inevitable, and what can you do except grin and bear it? So what does Trump do? A man who I can't see grinning and bearing his own loss of relevance and attention and importance.
Are we coming back to it now, or are we coming back to it in another episode?
I am just asking the question,
Okay.
But yes, I guess we can keep coming back to this because we'll have 3 years of it.
So that's our cliffhanger. How does Trump handle the lame duck?
Irrelevance.
Irrelevance.
Yes. Don't count him out, of course.
Don't count
audacity
him out.
of desperation.
All right, so Michael, we've got plenty of questions responding to your request for what should you ask Melania when you subpoena her.
And just to say I was on a long call with my lawyers this morning, in which several of these questions, the Ask Melania questions, came up, with the lawyers thinking that they were very useful and insightful. So
Good.
Please keep them coming.
Good. Okay, so this is crowdsourcing questions for Melania. So here's one from Rebecca Exon. Melania, this is for you to ask her. In the mid-90s, you were registered with an international bride service. Did you meet DJT at that time?
Great. Very pivotal question. When did they meet? Where did they meet? Yes, absolutely.
And how did they meet? Okay, this is from at O.A. Lem. So perhaps that's O. Alem. Who is the English teacher or advisor who taught you be best? I think we would like to know what political consultant came up with that idea for her.
There is an ad campaign that she did in the late 90s, and it was and it had the same thing. It was I have to look this up. What was it? I think it was a watch campaign, but let me come back to that. But it was exactly the thing. She clearly took this from that campaign.
I do hope that the Amazon documentary, which you have pointed out many times, she gets paid $40 million for, and then she gets 70% of the back end.
And then she gets $10 million per corporate sponsorship plug.
Okay, so let's assume that that's a big payday for her. I do hope it actually traces her journey from a model immigrant to First Lady, because it's a more interesting journey than Trump's in a way. And as you say, it's an unknowable journey. I mean, there are parts of it we don't have any insight into.
Let's not get too hopeful here. I think it will gloss this. She became, I think it will tell the story of how overnight she became a supermodel and then the girlfriend of Donald Trump's, when in fact she was, of course, never a supermodel, hardly a model of much success at all, and then was kind of created by Donald Trump. But I don't think it is going to tell that that story. I think it was going to tell the story that she very much wants to be told.
Well, and this will be a chance for Brett Ratner, who, as we know, big movie director who got Me Too, to rehabilitate himself too.
Right, and he's an action hero movie director, so I suspect Melania will become an action hero.
Well, she looks a little bit like an action figure.
Yeah, no.
All right, so here's a question from Pat Rivers 5910. Please ask Melania, why didn't she do anything to help the children who are hired at Mar-a-Lago? She saw that their uniforms were short miniskirts, tight tops with the Mar-a-Lago emblem on them. DJT's security team knew too. Melania is this great champion for women and children. Total hypocrisy. And then she adds a very interesting, well, I suppose Pat might be a man, but it feels like it's a woman. By the way, Florida law, RE massages, is this, and this is pretty useful to know, especially for anybody who's been reading the Virginia Giuffre book, Nobody's Girl. The person performing the massage must be 18 years old plus, must have a high school diploma, must have attended and passed a state-accredited massage program, with a minimum of 200 hours of clinical work with a program instructor with them at all times. It is illegal to hire anyone to give a massage without these. I didn't know that. I will say 200 hours seems quite a lot. Well, I guess it's 200 hours of clinical work, right? There's nothing more disappointing than having a weak massage.
But I would say that one of the answers to that question is that Melania has never spent much time at Mar-a-Lago.
Okay, fair enough. Well, you can certainly ask her that.
But we will ask, yes.
Yeah, okay, here's a question from Sally B. 1972. Could Michael ask Melania if, seeing as her husband does not feel shame, embarrassment, or humiliation, she feels it on his behalf?
I think it's a good question, and I think that is part of probably the dynamic of this relationship. I think when your husband goes on trial for effectively his relationship or covering up his relationship with Stormy Daniels, I would say if you're his wife, could be difficult to swallow.
All right, I'm going to add my own question here, Michael, which is I would like to know how old Melania was when she met Donald Trump and how old she was when she started modelling for Paolo Zampoli's agency.
I'm sure we will pin that down without question.
Excellent. Do you have any sense of when you're going to be able to ask her these questions?
No, the process would be to ask everyone else these questions before asking her. So we would then know we would be able to triangulate every one of her answers.
And are they allowed to talk to each other? Once you receive a subpoena for something, are they allowed to create their own story? Or are they, in theory, not allowed to talk to each other?
No, I'm sure that they're allowed to talk to each other. But you're talking to a lot of people who are either talking to Melania, her friends, or people who are not her friends, who have other. You're trying to talk to everyone who can bring any kind of information to the questions at hand, and then you're going to confront her.
Fascinating. Well, Michael, have a great weekend. We've got Thanksgiving next weekend, but that won't stop us from going inside Trump's head.
It won't?
It will not. It will not. In fact, it will encourage us because we might have a bit more spare time. Well,
I will see you in the studio on Tuesday.
I will see you in the studio on Tuesday. Have a great weekend in your tobacco cardigan.
No, this is. I don't think this is tobacco.
I think it's tobacco. It could be a latte cardigan.
Yeah, I think this is coffee, actually.
Coffee. Okay, it's a coffee-coloured cardigan, but it looks very good. And I'm assuming it was made in England or Scotland.
Yes.
And thank you to our BB's tier of members: Andrea Hodel, Sharon Shipley, Connie Rutherford, Heidi Riley, Karen White, Bocock DC, Val Love, Francisco, Bonzo, M. Greiner, Sandra Clark, Les Conde, Fulvia Orlando, Andrew Meller, Herbie.
Thank you, Devin, Anna, and Jesse.